So Kavita, I'll disconnect this because it is connected with my iPad. I'll just disconnect this call. Okay, don't call, please. Okay, done. I'm with you.
Okay, we'll start again. A very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to another session of Career Beacon, where we are discussing with all the veterans, educators about the National Education Policy 2020. And as you know, it's the third major revamp of the framework of education in India. And earlier it has happened in 1968, then 1986. And definitely we all were talking about, we have to, make our education globally compatible, move to experiential. And definitely these points are taken care in the new education policy. But yes, it will be implemented phase-wise, and it aims to make India global knowledge superpower. So with that, we have today with us Dr. Aquil Busrai to discuss on national education policy. He is graduate in commerce with a distinction. He obtained his MBA from Xavier Labor Relation Institute, where he was awarded the J.M. Kumarappa Gold Medal for ranking first. He later passed LLB and an advanced diploma in training and development, a university rank holder. He was honored with the Barucha Gold Medal for academic excellence. He has been awarded PhD in April 2012. He is currently pursuing his second PhD and a master degree in anthropology. He is a lifetime learner truly. Dr. Busrai is a certified executive coach. And to add the kind of experience he has over 47 years of experience in industry. He has worked with various HR roles with Unilever in Kenya and India, and was Executive Director HR Motorola for Asia Pacific countries. He worked with Shell Malaysia as Director Human Resource, Shell Malaysia, and Managing Director for Shell People Service Asia. And his last corporate assignment was with IBM India Limited as Executive Director Human Resource. He is currently CEO of Aquil Busrai Consulting. He has been actively associated with management movement in India, have been the president of Delhi Management Association, vice chairman of All India Management Association, Northern Region. He is on the National Council of CII, SOCHAM, and SHRM, on board of several education institutions and corporates. He was awarded the Pathfinder Award by National HRD Network for being selected as Outstanding Seasoned HR Professional. Last year, he was adjudged among the most powerful HR professionals in India at the Asia Pacific HRM Summit in Singapore. He was also bestowed Lifetime Achievement Award at Top Rankers Meet in Kuala Lumpur. At his national convention in November 2012, National HRD Network honored Dr. Busrai Lifetime Achievement Award. He has, list of awards. If I continue, it will again continue for a long. Yes, definitely, Dr. Busrai is a keen student and a student of nonverbal communication and is authoring a book on body language. He's an ardent wildlife enthusiast and a serious wildlife photographer. And I'm sure there will be many more I have missed, and the list will go on. We have with us Dr. Aquil Busrai. Welcome, Dr. Aquil Busrai, to our session, and it's an honor to have you to give the insight on national education policy.
It's my privilege, ma'am.
So as we all know that, national education policy is going to bring a transformational change in the Indian education. And with that, as you have been, I would say decades and decades of experience in HR, Sir, I would like to first have your view on NFP, then I'll ask you the questions.
Thank you, Kavita. I think overall, the NEP is a very positive move in the right direction. We have undone many of the stereotype labels we had given to our education over a period of last 2-3 decades. And I'm not an academician, but yet as a consumer of the academic product, as a recruiter, as an industry person, we used to find a very big gap in what is being covered in the schooling and college system and what the industry actually was able to utilize. In fact, my whole PhD thesis was on industry academia interface, its challenges and opportunities. And we realized there are a lot of gaps there. The new education policy has addressed those gaps pretty seriously. One major thing that has been is that doing away with this degree piece is a very positive move. That a student coming to the 12th, 13th year of studies had to do earlier 3 years of degree. And then you get a degree, and people were hankering for their degree because that was the passport to jobs. Now the sensible part is if they do 1 year, then it will be considered as a certificate. If they do 2 years, it will be considered as a diploma. 3 years will be a degree. Now, by putting a staged qualification, I feel that if industry also responds positively to this, and it's very important that industry must recognize the change and not have this old way of Ghisa-Pita way of demanding X number of years of studies and so-called paper degrees. As a result of this, somebody who's good with hand skill can actually do just 1 year of certification and get into employment. They don't have to really wait for 3 years or 4 years of paper degree, because many times the paper degrees were not worth the effort and the time that they spent. And in many places, we have seen how these degrees were actually handled, to be very polite. And the industry went by the standard method. We need a degree in science. What for? It doesn't mean that people who had degree had particular level of knowledge or awareness to such an extent that without that they can't do work. So I think by doing away with this aura of a formal 3-year, 4-year degree, the education system in India is moving in the right direction. And with the effort that the government is putting on skill development, even 2 years of studying beyond 10 is valuable. So 1 year certificate, 2 year diploma, 3 year degree. By doing this partitioning, and all good people who are technically good people are not necessarily good in studies. So you can't expect that those who get good marks will be very good with technical knowledge automatically. It's not. There are some children who are very good with their hands. They don't, if you go to any, I get fascinated with youngsters, working in auto mechanic shop on the pavement.
I think it is the way they have introduced a vocational from 6th onwards. It's going to help these students a lot.
Yes. And also, some needy families will not avoid education. Now, earlier it was, if my child is studying, he or she can't work. She has to finish 10 plus 2 plus 3, and I don't have resources to send my child to school and college for so long. I need the money for the family. So as a result, many families out of financial risk constraint did not send children to studies. So I was talking about this roadside mechanic shop where you find youngsters working so nicely. If you just watch them, they know which bolt to open, they know which part to fit in. And if you ask them, what have you studied? They just smile at you and say, I don't even know how to write my name. That is the reality. And I think the government has recognized that reality by making this into 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. You've given stage for people to gracefully walk out of the education system with grace and honor and dignity. There's no dropout. Earlier, if somebody studied up to class 6 and did not go to school, we call them dropouts. We also have been very harsh in labeling many children who did not complete the way we think education should be completed. We are biased. And I think we have to change our bias in favor of the children who can study up to a point and then go into vocational training or work with skills or learn skills, not necessarily right. So BCom degree or BA degree was taken for two reasons. Either to get a clerical job,
Right.
preferably government job, and or to get a good bride or a good husband.
So truly said, sir.
It doesn't make a difference. We should look for knowledge and not degree. And I think to some extent, this new policy will focus on knowledge.
Yes, definitely. It's driven, to make India as a global knowledge superpower. And I'm sure definitely in the coming years, we'll see the kind of students that are coming up with even the vocational knowledge. I would say what you were mentioning to me, it is more of a kinesthetic intelligence. People who are good with hands.
Kinesthetic, yes, they're very good term. They're good with hands, but you ask them to read a drawing or write something, they're not there. Some people are visual, some people are auditory. So, but talking about this international thing that you mentioned, Kavita, I'm glad, as I understood, that there'll be multiple language training available, I think from year 8 onwards or something.
Right.
And children can learn either German or French. In one way, it is good because as we see the world changing, the world is becoming a common village. And it's not now, it is happening for the last 30 years. Heading companies like Motorola and IBM, there was no geographical boundary for us. It didn't matter difference if somebody was in Poland and the job was in USA. We just transported them to US, that's all. And took the formality of paperwork, etc. Some companies looked at the globe as a village, but very few. Then there was this idea about language in some countries like France, for example. Now, it's not a very preferred destination for our students, but Germany, if you notice, less students go to Germany now than in earlier USA because of only one common ease, language. But to learn German, to study in German, to converse in German, some people thought that maybe it'll take time. There's a mental block. Language can be learned like this. Especially young people learn language so fast that you don't even know. We lived in Kenya for many years and in the Netherlands, and our daughter started schooling when we were in Kenya, and she picked up Swahili from our maid in no time. We did not know how she picked up Swahili. She talked in Swahili with the maid. So language is a good efficiency. But if I have understood correctly, for some reason, Chinese, Mandarin or Cantonese has been left out. I feel, this is my personal view, no political or emotional agenda should feature in education policy. We may not like Chinese, but if we have to learn that language because internationally it adds value, we better learn. I'm not saying that learning a language is acknowledging Chinese as friends or we love them or something. Segregate the two parts. Where our interest is concerned, where our children are concerned, teach them what is required rather than say, oh, Chinese, we don't like them, we always fight with them, they're very mean people, so don't learn the language. We are only harming our children. So I think when you take a policy like this, one must have a view very sharply focused on who's the customer. There's only one customer here, student. And if it's good for the student, we must forget our biases. And we are doing so many good work. And Dr. Kasturi Rangan, I have a lot of regard for that gentleman. And not only I, but the whole nation has a lot of regard for him. And I'm so glad that under his stewardship, this policy took a shape which is very different than some of the Ghisa Pita policies that we see around, just being masquerading as a change. Let us not spoil the overall approach by a few creases. Now, these are all crease on a shirt. A good shirt gets spoiled with one or two creases. My view is different. There's nothing like anybody's likes and dislikes should matter. We must do what is. One more thing, if you permit me to look at and share my view, there should be something in this for industry internship. Just education is not sufficient. I'm not aware whether it is inbuilt. I'm not seeing.
So it's part of vocational studies. They are trying to bring internship as with the vocational studies.
I think it's for 1 year or something.
No, sir, it is, I think, 10 back days, they were saying. So, 10 days, I believe.
Let's not treat education like tourism. 10 days makes no difference. By the time they know their company's building 10 days. I think internship of 6 months minimum, or if not 6 months, then at least 3 months minimum should be mandated. One more reason is not only the learning that happens to the students, it is the industry people become partners in this. You know, you cannot have any education policy devoid of involvement of industry. Industry people, and I'm from industry, so I can talk a little more freely about this, that we have been guilty of one thing, that we go to campuses only at what I call the harvest time. Time comes for recruitment, all of us land up there. And we say, and on the way back in the flight, we say, what's happened to the quality of education? Look at the students, they don't know basics. It is a very wrong thing industry practitioners like us are doing. If we want to criticize, we must also participate in advance to make curriculum more relevant. We must give time, not just go there at the time of recruitment and criticize. We must sit with them and say, can we help you? Can we nominate some of our people to do some practical teaching in schools and institutions? Can we give project to professors? And I've been advocating this in Motorola when I was heading Motorola for Asia Pacific. In about 5 countries, we had a scheme. We gave live project to academicians, live project.
That's wonderful, sir.
For 2 months to 3 months. And we said, we'll pay you the salary that you get from university or institution. That is guaranteed. On top of that, we give them an extra incentive pay. As a result, when they come to industry, their eyes open up. Oh, this is what they need. So when they go back, their perspective has changed. And
I think
that's what we should do.
This
so
is something what called experiential learning. This way, the experience from the industry, they can carry it and forward it to the students.
Very true. And that is the responsibility of industry. I would hold, in fact, the government should hold industry responsible for this. This is not a big favor they are doing. They should do this because it's an obligation. I know I'm speaking strongly on this, but it is not a one-way traffic. It's like a 3-legged race. Academic and industry should work like a 3-legged race.
Right.
If they are tied up together, they must run together. You cannot blame, one cannot blame the other, another cannot. The blame game only harms the students.
So with that, you have mentioned about the industry participation. The new education policy it will be bringing multidisciplinary approach at the graduation level. Science student can even learn history or music, they can continue. So in that context, I would like to ask you, how is HR going to change? the talent management with new education policy?
Good question, ma'am. Good question. See, one of the things that HR has been demonstrating in campuses is what is called standardization. And by that I mean that you must have a degree and you must have more than 55% of marks.
Yes.
It's a typical HR way of looking at talent. That you must be this height, this weight, and then only I'll consider you. I think it is obsolete. It worked at one time. I'm not saying everything was wrong. It was required. Now we don't need that. Because if a person has done 5 plus 3 plus 3, that is how many? 11 years, and then goes for 4th year and does only 1 year, he or she gets a certificate.
Right.
The HR will have to change the way it mandates requirement. For different skill job in the organization, you need somebody with 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or even research 4 years experience. I'm glad we are doing this. And that's where the HR people will have to very fine tune their requirement. Do they need somebody with 2 years diploma? Or can that work be done by somebody with 1 year certificate? And if so, hire them with 1 year certificate, train them in your premises, make them better skilled and knowledge, rather than wait for ready-made 2 years diploma wala, who will not have necessarily the same knowledge as the person who's got certificate and 1 year of industry experience. See, industry experience will groom youngsters. So any point of time, you take 1 year certificate person with 1 year industry and compare them with 2 year diploma, you'll find the first lot better. Because there's a practical knowledge that they have picked up. And that is where HR people have to change the way. It's like a shopping list now. The shopping list will have to change. You cannot just say, I want to graduate. I want somebody who's done 16 years of studies. So 5 plus 3 plus 3 is 11 plus 4 is 15. People don't have to work till 15 in the classes. It's not easy because the HR people have this set requirement. Oh, only if you are 15, only if you got 55% marks. Now there'll be no exam. In the new policy, there'll be no exam. So those luxury for the HR people to take somebody else's rubber stamp as the criteria for hiring is gone. They will have to improve their recruitment skill. They have to do a psychometric test and design psychometric tests to get the right skill assessed, not paper qualification. It doesn't make a difference if a person has done 1 year. The job will be requiring a particular skill set and the HR people will have to measure that. I'm glad this type of policy should make industry wake up and change their way of recruiting. This easy way of saying graduate chahiye, must be 55% marks and top 10 rankers I will take in chartered accountancy. I'm glad we are doing away with all this.
So true, sir. With that, second question that pops to me is like, now when HR is going for campus recruitment, now they'll be having the person with 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and 4 year. So how this, when this NEP is implemented, how do you foresee the change in talent acquisition is needed? The vision and the thought process need to be changed.
It is absolutely. The thought process has to change by the HR and by organization. They have to assess what level of skill am I going to shop. And before that, they have to say this job does not require somebody with 3 years of studies. This job can be done by a person who's got diploma of 2 years or certificate of 1 year. So first they must understand what will be taught in that first year. Is that sufficient for this particular skill job? And what additional thing is taught in the second year which makes them qualify for diploma? So the HR people and the organization have to understand that it is not one size and one label fitting everybody. Earlier, what was happening? BCom, BA, BTech, MTech.
Right.
Standard. So the MTech guy did 3 years of graduation, 2 years of post-graduation, and people thought he was more knowledgeable than the person with BTech. We assumed. In some cases they were, because they went for longer studies.
Right.
And the jobs were given on paper qualification. Now, hopefully, and this will be the challenging part, it looks very simple on paper. The challenging part is that people will have to understand that this job that I have in mind requires only certificate level of knowledge, or this certainly requires diploma, and this I cannot be done by anybody except research.
Right.
So the list will become sharp, and if that becomes sharp, then when they go to campus, they will tell the placement officer that I'm looking this time for 3 people with diploma level of education, and they will only see that level.
Definitely.
Now, this is sounding so nice and easy, Kavita, but somebody will have to do a lot of background work of job match, skill match, position and skill available. You ask about talent management. What is talent at the end of the day? Right people at the right time, at the right price.
Right.
But right to what? If this is the size of job, I must get the people also of this size. If my job is this big and I get people of this size, it is not going to fit. Or if I get people overqualified, it's not going to be working out. People will have to understand what is my job requirement and what type of profile I'm looking for in the campus. It will take time. It will not be easy because people are used to. So if you go for a office assistant job, what do you ask for? BCom with 3 years experience. Now that youngster may have done BCom from a premier university, or he may have done from not so premier university. Some may know just about balance sheet.
Right.
Some know about only profit and loss statement. All BComs are not same.
Yes. I think it is a more kind of homework, I would say, or the kind of understanding you need to have about the different courses each year is offering. And then I think they have to define as an HR professional the kind of skills or core competency you need, and with what level, with certificate it match, or with the diploma it serves, or something like that, stepwise.
Very well said.
And then even
Doing
if
they must go and participate also. If they say our requirement will be diploma type, 2 years of post-study exam, say
right.
after 11 years, 2 years, they must go say, this is what you should teach. If it's a technical subject, if it's skill subject, industry must walk forward and say, and that's why I'm very particular about this internship. If somebody wants to do internship before they get qualified from institution, they will know what industry really looks like. So
right.
8 weeks, like all MBAs, do 8 weeks of internship training. In some cases, it is very big experience. I remember my internship doing my MBA, and I did it with Tata Electric. I did a very serious project, and the company needed that project. Touch wood, I worked hard, 8 to 12 hours a day, and in 8 weeks prepared that project report. But I was fortunate that they needed that project.
Right.
There are some companies who just take on summer train internship and say you sit up, do something, muknak, niknak. Some people even misuse that, and I'm sorry to say, but in insurance companies, they take these summer interns and make them sell policies, saying that this is the experience you are getting. So they're misusing it. Industry will have to act responsibly. They cannot just take cheap labor, so to say, and call it, we are doing internship training for them. I think people will have to get serious about their own responsibility. And then only the talent pool will improve in the country. If everybody takes shortcut in industry, it cannot be on academia shoulder all the time to just teach them the best and come out and learning everything that industry needs. And from that point of view, academia will have to also understand what the industry needs. It's a very good collaboration that is required And that can only happen if they talk and they go to each other.
Right.
And this is not theoretical answer I'm giving. All I'm saying is that there must be internship. Even for professors, there must be 2 to 3 weeks of industry exposure. Then they will know, oh, this is what is required. So we had this apprenticeship program, and many apprentices were very wrongly used as labor in many companies. Because one, the stipends were low. Second, no obligation to hire them as permanent employees. They were not unionized. Many companies exploited that. Some companies who took apprentices will train you, will teach you. If you are good, will hire you afterwards. No guarantee. Those students who were taught came out ready for industry. If not for that company, at least for some other company. So industry will have to be really held accountable to play their part in talent development with the new energy.
I think definitely this is the collaborative efforts which need to be there from, academia, from the industry, and I think from the student's perspective also, it's just not the certificate that you are. Education is for the knowledge, for acquiring the competency.
I like the way you said it. It's not for certificate, it's for knowledge.
Yes. So I think when all the three parties understand, it is for the knowledge, it is for the competency building, it is not just a certificate or a piece of paper to show, or it is a passport to a kind of job, which I would say, as you have termed, that they have the criteria for this job, BCom certification for 55%. So these walls need to be, dropped, and we definitely have to come out with innovative ways and understanding the job role much better with this kind of setup which is coming with new education policy, and understand each kind of job profile need to have the kind of core competency, and with that, those core competency at what level of a student can perform, and definitely every industry need to groom the freshers to meet their requirement.
Use core competency. That is the only way to find out what competency do you expect at certificate level,
Right.
and what additional competency you expect at diploma level. Do you really need that? Or are you just asking because it is available? Right. That distinction will make sure that the people who go through 1 year or 2 years or even 3 years are utilized properly. So the old paper degree days are over.
Right.
For 3 years, we struggled to get a BA degree. And when they went for a job, people said, BA mein kya, except for clerical job, we can't give you anything else.
Right. And I think the kind of emphasis they have put now on online learning, the new education policy is putting, and the apps that they have come, Swayam is such a wonderful, I would say, initiative by the government, that it has a lot of technical or vocational and I would say courses like even coding and event management. These kind of courses are taught over there at a very minimal cost, that is affordability is also there. So government is working into it, and it is promoting that competency based. You don't have to have a degree.
And using technology also. There is a very good move to use technology. See, the app you're talking about today, in fact, because of COVID, all the children have got accustomed to learning online. 6 months ago, if you had told them you don't have to go to school, learn online, it would be party time.
Right.
It's a party time. It's not. Now children are studying to the dot. They know that this is the only way to study. And even teachers, fortunately, have responded to the need. You see the amount of involvement that a teacher gives in online studies.
Yes, definitely.
He is there with the children almost. And it's very heartening. See, I always feel I have a weakness for academic people because they do it for passion.
Right.
I'm not being critical of industry. Many industry people also do it for passion, but sometimes it becomes little transactional. Why not? It's so easy to take a BSc with 3 years experience. It sounds so simple. BSc, 55% mark, 3 years experience, you're qualified. You're 2 years and 9 months of experience, you're not qualified. All those things will be now replaced by what do you need? Do you really need 2 years diploma level of competence? And you use the word core competency. Once that is measured, then industry must say, okay, I will do this one. So when you are in the kitchen, Kavita, you don't need all the masalas.
Right.
Say, okay, today's dish only requires 3 masalas or 4 masalas out of 7 that is available. Now, if you say, what I must have all 7 in front of me, and jar must be half full. No, it's not required. Don't overdo it. Industry and academia must respect each other's territory and help each other groom. There's no sense in having qualification, not getting job. It's the biggest frustration for youngsters. In many B town, today you find very intelligent students, they have qualifications, they don't have jobs. Even in big cities. Because industry has its own way. I'm not blaming industry. They want the best. And since there are so many people coming out with graduation certificates, choice is there.
Right. It is, the whole purpose of national education policy is basically to make or empower student with competencies, and the kind of gap that is existing, I would say one of the major gap is also digital literacy, which they have realized it, and they are uh, intertwining the education with technology, and trying to make it accessible to each and every individual. So
But you
thank
know,
you.
everything is not so rosy or bright. It will take time to understand how it will shape up. For example, no exams.
Right.
Sounds very simple. But how can teachers be made objective? What is the criteria for the objectivity that without exam, a child will be sent to the next level? It's not easy. Now, some checks and balances will have to be incorporated, and not only good faith and good luck and just cross your fingers and say, no exam, let the teacher decide. On paper, there are a lot of ideas. I've seen the NEP policy, national education policy, that we'll do assessment based on certain criteria, etc. But it must be enforced.
Right.
It has to be enforced. Otherwise, the education level will get diluted, and we'll be back to square one, where people will have qualification but no knowledge. And I like the word you used. That this is not about certification. This is about knowledge. So there's no sense in me getting a diploma certificate because I have done 2 years post my, I always forget, 11 years.
Right.
I must have knowledge equal to 2 years of study. And you must be able to assess me that yes, you have that knowledge. And industry will have to say, only if you have that much of knowledge or competency, you are eligible for a job in my company, because that job only requires that level of competency. I don't need anybody higher. And based on that, the compensation policy will get decided. Everybody will not get same salary. Skill will decide the demand, supply, compensation, and value.
I think you have now summed it. It's like the skill, your competency, that is going to be a deciding factor. And as an HR and talent acquisition person, you have to, I think it's a mindset change that is needed with the new education policy. It's a thought-provoking thing for even for the future HR people and the talent management people to think about it, about the core competency, move from certification to the competency and skill based, and the growth. And I would say, because a lot of people connect certificates with the growth, with the kind of professional I would say jump you can get. And so this should not be a limiting factor. We have to open the mind, open our thoughts to skills and competency, move away from those certification, and that is the key to future of HR and future of talent management. Thank you, Dr. Aquil Busrai,
Dr.
for your insight. And
Last comment I would make is that the HR people and the industry people will have to own responsibility for this. So there must not just be a judgment to say, because we are giving jobs, we are sitting on high horses, but they will have to own this. And if some gaps will always be there when they come to industry, we can always top it up. But to make this successful, one has to be very clear that this job requires this much of skill or competency. We'll go for that and not ask for superfluous just because it was available at that point of time. So thank you for inviting me, Kavita. Thank you.
it's a pleasure to have you for such an insight and experience you bring to us, and the kind of depth you have in the industry. So thank you so much for being with us and giving your inputs on national education policy.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everyone, for being with us. Thank you, Aquil.